Okay, today I'm going to take you through a repair on a 2004 Pontiac Grand Am GT. I know, it's not real glamorous, but it is one of my favorite cars to work on. Alright, let's get started. First thing we're going to do is change the rack and pinion, just to make it drivable. Whatever truck hit it on the driver's side, pushed it into a curb on the passenger side, and cracked the rack and pinion in half. So I got a new rack and pinion, or rebuilt. Their prices are pretty reasonable, so just put a new one in instead of trying to mess with the used one. While we're here, we're going to change the two front wheels that were damaged in the accident also. I'm going to pull the fender out a little bit just so I can open and close the door. We're going to fit the new door. You want to do this with all the parts on it because just the weight of all the glass and regulator and moldings and door panels will change the way the door fits. So I try and do it with everything on it if I can. On these cars I can align the door and then I can take two bolts out of it and take it off and the alignments will stay the same. So that's what I'm doing. Putting the old door back on because I'm going to put it back outside. I'm probably not going to get around to working on this for a couple weeks or so. So now I'm going to take the door apart just so we can paint the inside of it. Just strip everything that unbolts and unscrews and unclips. Take it all off. I'm doing a little body work here. Enjoy this. You might not see it again. I stopped being interested in this about right here. I hate body work, but it was a little job and I figured I would do it to remember why I hate it. And here we go. This is why I hate it. So we're putting the Bondo on. I mean, these were just door dings. I blocked most of them out. So now I'm just scuffing it, waiting for the Bondo to dry. I don't want to waste any time. DAing it down with 320. I call it Bondo, and that's actually its brand name. It's really body filler, so sorry about that. I'm not getting paid by Bondo, but that's what I'm used to calling it, so that's what I'm going to call it. Now that the Bondo has dried, I'm going to block it down with 80 grit just to make it a little quicker. After I get it close with 80 grit, I'm going to finish it with 180. And then I'm going to go over it with 320, get all the rest of the scratches and paint smooth so that when I prime it, you won't see any scratches. Scuffing some of the little edges. I don't want any primer to get on anything that isn't sanded or scuffed in some way. Now we're going to mask off what we don't want primer on. Now I've done a lot of these cars and there's a hole in the back of the fender for the GT molding. So rather than measuring it every time, a long time ago I cut up a fender that was smashed in the front. Now I just put the template over it, mark the hole and drill it. So that's what I was doing there. Now I'm just scuffing the inside of the door, getting ready for paint. Do the same thing to the fender. Sanding the outside of the door, blocking it out with 320. Same thing with the fender. Scuffing the inside edges. Now we're going to hang it up, paint it. I'm going to paint the inside and the outside all at one time. Put it on there painted. Saves time this way. Put about 2 coats of paint until it's covered. I was trying to cover black parts with white paint, so I think it took 2 coats on this one. Then a couple coats of clear. I did leave out the drying time because it's like watching paint dry. It is watching paint dry. So now that all our parts are painted, we're going to put them on, buffing out the molding, the marks from the tire of the truck that hit it. Didn't need to be painted, just had to buff off the black marks. Our new door on. And our fender. Line everything up. Bumper back up. Okay, now we're gonna tape it off so we can wet sand it and buff the parts we painted. So just wet sanding it. If there's any dust, you take that out with 1500, and then I go over it with 2000. We're buffing it out. Do little spots at a time, little sections, and keep moving so we get the whole door done. We're gonna do the fender. After we're done buffing it, we'll run it over with some polish. There you go. Now I'm polishing it. Use a different pad. Now I'm taking off the 2-sided tape that holds the top of the molding on. Put the door back together. And I left this part in to prove that even some of us that have done this a million times make mistakes. I had to pull the fender liner back down and put in a piece of insulation that fits behind it. I've done a couple hundred of these cars and still managed to forget it, but it happens. I took it back apart and put it back in there. Now I'm putting the molding on. Nameplate. On this car, the ignition lock was changed, so the keys for the outside of the car and the ignition were different. So I got a lock set. I was changing the trunk lock there so that all the keys will match. I'm going to buff all the black marks off of the molding. This also didn't need to be painted. I'm just going to take the molding off the old door. Now I'm going to change the door lock in the passenger door. While I was here, somebody had replaced the front speakers and they didn't do a very good job twisting the wires together, so I put some butt connectors in there and made a good connection so the speaker doesn't cut in and out. door panel back on. Okay, now we're going to change the ignition lock so the key matches. This car also had some starting issues, and it was the ignition switch, so I'm going to change that at the same time too. I got lucky on this one, and the ignition locks were the same resistance, and I didn't have to reprogram it. It happens like 1 out of every 100 times. And there you go. It's all done. It wasn't a fancy job, but it was a small job. The car had low miles on it, and I had all the parts, so it made sense to pick it up. They sell pretty quick. Great car for kids. I saw a lot of these cars. Like I said, I've done a couple hundred of them. So there you go. Proof that I can do body work and paint work. I choose not to because I've done this for years. I used to do the whole job start to finish and found that it took me a lot longer to get the car done when I was doing the parts I didn't enjoy because I kept putting them off. So now I pay other guys to do it for me, and jobs get done a lot faster. Which brings me to my next point. Lately in the comments, you guys are sweating me on how long it takes me to finish these cars. So let me explain on this one why it took so long. I picked up the car about a day after I got it from the auction. While it was on the trailer, I went to take it off that night actually, and realized that the rack and pinion was broke. So I ordered one, took about 3 days to get. The day it came in, I put the rack and pinion in, put the wheels and tires on it, checked everything for the safety tests, pulled out the door and put a mirror on it so it would all pass the safety test. The reason I took it the next day. The reason I did that is in Illinois, it takes 4 to 6 weeks for the title to come back after you send it in. If I wait until I'm done with the car, I have to wait 4 to 6 weeks plus whatever time I was working on the car. If I send it in at the beginning, I have 4 to 6 weeks to finish the car. After I sent the paperwork in, 2 days later, I was on vacation for 2 weeks. While nothing was being done on the car, I wasn't losing any time because it was going to be 4 to 6 weeks before I could do anything with it anyway. Then when I came back, I put the door on, put it back together, and finished up every little thing I had to do on it. By the time the title came back, the car was ready. This was a little job. I have very little invested in it, so if it sat for a while, it didn't bother me. This one had low miles. That's why it made sense to fix it. I had all the parts. It's not a really glamorous car. There's not a ton of money to make, but I'm not here to make money all the time. Sometimes I'm just here to have fun and make videos. So there you go. So I hope that accounts for my time lapse and my time lapses. Keep the comments coming. I try to reply to everybody's comments. If I missed yours, I'm sorry. It wasn't intentional. Even the trolls. I do enjoy your ridiculous comments, and I really enjoy making ridiculous replies. So keep them coming. They kind of amuse me. I do want to say thank you guys. You shared my videos like crazy, and my channel is becoming way more popular than I ever thought possible. Had I known this, I could have been making videos of much bigger jobs for a very long time now. I never thought people would want to watch me work, but it seems like you guys do. So I'll keep making the videos. You keep telling me what you want to see, and I'll try to do it. These videos are for you guys, not necessarily for me. So let me know what you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next month.